Today we're talking about something that every gardener has struggled with at some point: pests. There's nothing worse than putting in hours of work, starting seeds, nurturing seedlings and tending to your garden, only to have the whole thing destroyed by little critters in what seems like a single night. So in this video I'm breaking down all the methods I use, natural, simple and inexpensive, to keep pests out of my garden and protect my hard-earned crops. So let's get into it. One of my favourite natural pest control methods is planting marigold flowers all throughout my garden beds. These bright little flowers do so much more than just look pretty. Marigolds release a strong scent that helps repel pests like aphids and whiteflies and even certain types of beetles. Their odour basically acts like a little warning sign that tells bugs that you probably don't want to live here. But what I love about marigolds is that they pull a double duty. Whilst they deter harmful insects, they actually attract beneficial ones, especially ladybugs, which are fantastic for controlling aphid populations. I like to plant marigolds around the borders of my garden beds as well as between rows of tomatoes. Another bonus is that marigolds bring in more pollinators too. More pollinators means more flowers, which equals more fruit. So really, marigolds are doing a whole lot of quiet behind the scenes work for you, basically acting like little garden bodyguards. Now, we all know that herbs have tons of culinary benefits, but many people don't realise they can be just as helpful before you even harvest them. Herbs like basil, dill, mint, thyme, rosemary and sage produce strong scents that naturally confuse and repel insects. Even just brushing up against them releases the scents that many pests can't stand. Some of my favourites are basil, dill, mint, sage and thyme. Together all of these work to repel a wide variety of pests. Variety is definitely key. When you have multiple herbs growing in different areas, it creates a kind of scent barrier around your garden. Pests rely on smell to locate plants, so when the air is full of competing aromas, it makes it much harder for them to find their favourite crops. Herbs are really one of the simplest ways to deter pests without needing to spray. Mulching is usually talked about for weed suppression and water retention, and those are all great benefits. But mulching is also a fantastic defence against slugs and snails. Slugs and snails hate dry, scratchy textures. So when the base of your plants are surrounded with things like wood chips, pine needles, straw or coarse bark mulches, they're far less likely to slide across it. It's uncomfortable for them and slows them down, which means your plants stay safer. Mulch is such a simple addition, but it works for you 24/7, even while you sleep. If slugs are a big issue in your area, you can take things a step further by sprinkling crushed eggshells around the base of your plants. The jagged edges make a barrier that the slugs don't want to crawl over. Just remember that eggshells break down slowly, so they're more of a physical barrier rather than a soil amendment. Where I live, birds are one of our biggest garden pests. They love tender seedlings, leafy greens, and anything colourful like berries or cherry tomatoes. I've had entire beds cleaned overnight. What works best for me is netting. I drape lightweight garden netting over hoop structures or stakes to keep the birds away from my lettuce and seedlings and things like that. It allows air, sun and rain through but keeps the birds out. Something I'm not currently doing but I've heard you can do and I'm definitely thinking about is setting up a bird feeder and bird bath somewhere away from your garden. Birds will usually go for the easiest option. Food that's already provided for them will be much more enticing than digging around your garden. It doesn't stop every bird, but it definitely can reduce the pressure on your plants. If you grow berries, consider using a finer mesh or some reflective objects to keep the birds from swooping in. Wood ash is another simple but surprisingly effective gardening tool. Similar to eggshells, you can sprinkle around the base of your plants to keep slugs and snails away. The powdery texture absorbs moisture from their bodies, so they avoid crossing over it. You can also dust very small amounts directly onto leaves affected by pests like aphids. Just use it sparingly because wood ash is alkaline, so you don't want to use too much and shift the pH of your soil. Avoid using wood ash around acidic loving plants like potatoes, blueberries and strawberries. And keep in mind that you'll have to reapply after rain. And despite doing all of the above, sometimes aphids still take over my brassicas. When this happens, my go-to remedy is a simple homemade spray that, when used correctly, works wonders. Here's the mixture: 1 tablespoon of mild dish soap, a cup of cooking oil, and a litre of water. The soap helps to break down the protective coating on the soft-bodied insects, and the oil helps the solution to stick to the leaves. You can spray it directly onto the pests, and make sure to pay special attention to the underside of the leaves where pests usually like to hide. A couple of tips: don't spray at the hottest part of the day, either early morning or late afternoon is best. Shake the mixture well before use. Only mix what you need because it works best fresh. And use sparingly on tender plants. This spray is effective against aphids, thrips and whiteflies, and it's budget friendly. Strong and healthy plants are naturally more resistant to pests. Stress makes plants weaker, and pests can definitely sense that. A few simple habits to help your garden stay resilient. Practice crop rotation, keep soil rich with compost, give plants the proper spacing for airflow, and healthy soil equals healthy plants, which equals fewer pest problems. So those are all of the ways that I keep pests out of my garden, from marigolds and herbs to mulch, netting, wood ash, homemade sprays, and simply encouraging nature to do its thing. Every garden is different, so feel free to experiment and see what works best in your garden. If you found this video helpful, please consider subscribing and maybe check out one of our other videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.